Hey guys, what is going on? So I thought I'd just make a cool short video, just based on what I'm looking at this week, but also kind of just talk about some very important factors. And just essentially moving into quite good area of market at the moment. So what we're basically looking at, this is the weekly on the DXY, and it's very good to be paying attention to the DXY at the moment, just because if it does turn around, we're going to see a lot of good volatility happening in the market, which we're going to see on related pairs. So we can see how the weekly closed over here. Monday is a bit of a low liquidity day, so I wouldn't really be too fixated on the price moving on Monday. I would wait till we get a daily close and then kind of go from there. If we look at daily on USD index, we can see that we had the 50% rule, where 50% from the high to the low. We came in, we tapped into it, we pushed and we rejected. However, there is a little bit of an inflection area just above it which we can potentially gravitate towards. We are in a corrective squeeze. However, there is more than enough for this to now sell. We just need to see the more commitment. Once we have that confirmation, we're going, and we can look at the counter related pairs for some good trades. So essentially, if the DXY does short, we're going to see a lot of related pairs go long. For example, Euro USD, New Zealand USD, Aussie USD, and then we can look for buy positions while this is shorting, gold included. JP225 as well, I think, is extremely interesting as a wholesome one. This is related to the Japanese yen pairs. We basically have a point of interest here where on the weekly, we did kind of reject, but it's still bearish. And I think given how price is moving, we could potentially see this, if it goes through it, then we could see a lot of JP225 related pairs move as well with momentum. So this is something I'm going to be paying close attention to. We did move away from this, but it was a little bit corrective, and I think for that reason I just wanted to evaluate it closely, because Monday morning comes, we can just push away and we can come to the low and kind of maybe even break through and continue to the downside. So I would pay special attention to that, because there is the shorting potential in there. However, this can go long. There's more than enough here for this to go long. So I wouldn't be entertaining any short position until we've broken below here and then creating deliberate price action. However, moving above from the POI, I think is definitely a clear signal from the market that we are going back to the upside. So we have to wait and see and get a message from the market, because we are trading still at that very, very close low area. The other very important part that I want to be looking at over here is the related pairs. So if we look at USD CAD, I think USD CAD is certainly definitely one of my most interested pairs this week. The main reason being is we can see that price action has obviously correctively moved. We impulsed up, created this larger correction, but within this, as we approach the 1, 2, 3 over here off the bullish the bull flag, we could then see that we actually came in with an internal structure, and inside here it's not your most typical cleanest price, because there isn't the cleanest of middle sections. So I would say that there's still the room for this to go higher, yes, but given how the DXY is shaping up and we're seeing a lot of related instruments, I think it's very, very possible that we're going to see a short move. So we'll be keeping close attention to that. Moving to the lower time frames, we can then see that if we get a push down a flag, that's also going to be something of a very, very good interest. And then over here, so this would be the 1 hour flag that I'd be looking for. It could just sell off a little bit more and then come back up, but ultimately I will be looking for that sort of 3, if not corrective. Then I'll be, if it is a 2 touch, I'll be evaluating it very closely to understand how we roll off the read it. Euro USD, I think, is also stunning, just like the DXY. We can see here that we tapped into the point of interest and we pushed away on the daily. If we go and look at the 4 hour, we can see here that, okay, this wick over here was due to NFP, so disregard that. I mean, obviously it is still priced in now, but disregard it, and you can see the sequence where we pushed up, corrected, pushed up, corrected, and we're pushing up again. So I would pay special attention to this, because if we do get an easy correction there, we could move to the upside, and then on the 1 hour just for simplicity, we can see that that's more than enough. You know, I think, you know, this was just people just re-getting into it. I think that drop off was, well, it was NFP, you know, and NFP does just cause price to kind of just do this. So understand that obviously if you are priced in close or in the region off NFP coming in, then sometimes it might be worth to close out and just reevaluate, because you could take an unnecessary slippage / loss, and we don't really want that. GBP New Zealand, I think GBP New Zealand definitely has some good potential. What we're seeing over here is, you know, we've literally correctively squeezed up, we've had a strong push away, and now we're just accumulating some volume to move lower. Clearer on the 4, we can see that we tapped into the inflection area, which you could really say that that was the middle section. So it makes sense for us now to be creating a large flag over here to accumulate volume to sell. And I think this is definitely one of my most favorable positions. And then on the 1 hour, for simplicity, we can see that we have those sections here. So, you know, it's all built up of structure 1 2 3 back into 1 2 3 and then sell off. And I think that's very deliberate, nice price action there. So that's something that I'll be paying close attention to for the short, and I think you should too as well. EA, valid low risk trade here, similar to the DXY in some ways, but obviously the clearer middle section there. Essentially, yeah, so I'm basically looking at this to go long. I want to really see if this is the move to come back up here to the override 1 at least. Maybe even tap into 1 2 3. Yeah, if it taps into the 1 2 3, that would be great. I think what's interesting over here is that we are seeing this sort of impulsive push up now, a corrective push, and then if you did look at this as a channel, we've kind of just hovered outside the channel, created this formation, and then now we're pushing above. So anything above the line in the sand is 100% go for me. We just need to kind of closely evaluate. Would you be looking at something like that to go short? I mean, look, the trend is somewhat going short, but look at how the sequence of it is. It's not really the sort of type of sequence I want to be getting involved in right now. I want to be looking for the long, so I will be waiting for that. Obviously this could be smaller, this could be tighter, it is what it is. Obviously this is just there to represent just a image of a structure, but more so push up in a flag, simple. GBP CAD, strange one, because on USD CAD we are looking for the short, but GBP CAD and Euro CAD we are looking for the long. So we can see here that on the daily we tapped into a reference point, not the highest of value areas, but we did get a very good reaction to push away. Looking at on the 4, nice sequence. These are the sort of sequences I enjoy looking at because they're very clear. You see impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, correction. Not always the easiest to tap into, but these are looking very deliberate and very nice. So I think this is the sort of price action I want to be getting involved into, and this is one of the reasons why I did choose to put it on watch. If we do get an impulse correction, you know, I can understand that we can just move all the way back up to the upside in this sequence and get maybe 5 6 7 positions. GBP Aussie. GBP Aussie is also one which I think is stunning. So we had this sort of, let's call it a hook. We arced into that, we corrected with a 1 2 3, pushed above, pushed back down, flagged, pushed back down, broke this, tapped into the inflection area, and now correctively squeezing. As we're correctively squeezing, we can see that we're potentially forming some level of a structure with a structured point into this reference. If we get the structured approach to the reference point, then this is definitely going to be a risk entry for me. If we don't, and we just kind of like push down a little bit, push back up, we don't complete this, and it just becomes like, you know, kind of just a squeeze into that reference point, then I'll be waiting for the insurance entry. Basically, I push up, push back down on a flag, and then go. So I want it to be looking something like this. Oh, you can't really see it, that one there. Where it just kind of basically has a push, and then we flag, and then we push again, and that's basically it. Maybe like that, a little bit smaller, but yeah. USD ZAR. I think USD ZAR definitely are, man. I found out I don't actually have this one on watch, So, I mean, I do have it on watch, sorry, I don't have it as an optional pair to trade on the account, but it's not a problem. You know, it is what it is. Let's see, yeah, so we have the 1, 2, 3, and then we have the rejection over there on the daily, which is nice, and then we look at it on the 4 hour. We had this potential internal squeeze there as well. Better to look without though, but pushed away. So I'm just basically now anticipating that we get something like that. If we get a nice little flag like that in this area, ooh, we're in for a good position. I think as well, just going back to USDZR, we haven't tapped into the override high. I mean, we tapped into this level here, which is completely fine, which is more than enough, but we haven't tapped into that override high. And I think because of that, the higher time frame can overtake this and push this higher. So I wouldn't marry that trade just because we have this. Understand that we can still come back up to this area here because this gap over here. So we could fill that gap and then sell, but we can still sell off here before we come back up. So I am looking to play that. I was looking to play that short, but I think I'll still ghost monitor it as a pair. I just won't be able to take the trade, unfortunately, due to not having a pair on the broker I'm trading with. Reference point squeeze, yeah. So we're in a squeeze here. Maybe we come back down one more time all the way down here to then get a trade. This is one that I think is going to look really good. I'm hoping, because there's more than enough for this to sell, but I'm hoping that this will come up for one more. Tap in, give me an alert, I'll get into able to get short. Something a bit more clearer like that. Like I said, this has more than enough now. You could even open a short market open. I wouldn't though, because I want to be positioned where the reference area is. But yeah, it is what it is. Aussie, New Zealand, similar situation. I've got basically a range that I'm trying to play, and I'm trying to play this range to go short. If we look at it over here on the 4, you can see that we're basically at the override low. I want to see this kind of just correct, make its way back up to either the override 1 or override 2, and then look to go short. Both scenarios, I'm going to be looking for an insurance entry, just because, I mean, yeah, both scenarios I am going to be looking for an insurance entry for sure. EuroCAD. EuroCAD, point of interest, we're basically moving out on the daily. More than likely we're going to push through it because this isn't your typical sort of corrective price action into the second touch, but we'll have to wait and see. So we're at the override. Obviously this is NFP again, we kind of push. The sequence is very nice, and this is what I just said with GBP CAD. You know, I think these are the sort of pairs you really want to be looking at in terms of a sequence, because we can see that we're getting a clear, you know, impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse correction. You know, if we continue in this sort of sequence, then you can position yourself within here to put your stop loss below, position yourself inside however you wish, and you can go long with it. And I think obviously precise precision is always better and getting better and better with precision, but I think positioning is also very equally as important, because you can position yourself well in here. Precision may not be on point, but positioning is, and within this sequence you've positioned yourself very well. So I hope that made sense. And yeah, so that was very much like GBP CAD. CAD Yen. So CAD Yen's one that I think last week I was really trying to hammer in and getting onto this, but it wasn't quite easy, man. Like it kind of pulled up against me. I had about 1% on CAD Yen, I had about 3% on AJ, and they both just pulled up for break even. So it is what it is. On the daily, we can see that we tapped into the high value area and we did start to reject. Very nice. We started to exhaust a little bit as well. Then we can see that during this exhaustion now, we just kind of had a strong pullback. Sucks. Looking at various different areas to just see how we pull, but more than likely we could just scoop all the way back up, tap into the high M star sort of style, sell off. The JP225 will be a clear indication of what will be going on as well. And then we've got, yeah, so this is basically what I'm going to be looking for. I mean, I would like to see this kind of just create something very, very clear, because if you look at this on the hourly, it looks a bit large, right? But if you look at it on the 4 hour daily, let's just say the daily, it would make sense. That makes sense, you know. I wouldn't mind a big push off, accumulation, and then sell off again. So we'll have to wait and see. And then the last one I've got on my wild additional pairs is USD yen. USD yen is one that I've just basically put on there just because I want to be prepared, and I think if there is a yen pair to go, the one I want to be getting involved on is UJ for sure. Especially with how the DXY is performing and how the yen pairs could perform. I think this is one that is extremely important for me to just be monitoring very closely, because I think there's a lot of potential in the market for that. So today I'm definitely going to be taking any trades, despite if anything shapes up or not. I've already made that formal decision. I want to be trading the markets at when it's its best, and I want to be trading when I have the best of confirmation. So I've already evaluated what I want to be achieving by the end of this year, and realistically it's roughly in the region of 23%. So if I'm looking at 23% over a course of the next, let's say, well, between now and December, I've literally got October, November, and December. Yeah, doesn't really even matter, because on an average month I have been banking around about 15 to 17. Coming into impulsive markets, positioning is on point, protection is there, risk management could still be looking at that. You know, it's a very interesting thing, and I want to say this as well. In fact, I'm going to pause the video and just re-add this on top. Yes, wicked. So yeah, essentially just wanted to kind of share this. Just before I do that, let me just jump onto US oil. And yeah, so essentially looking at US oil, we can see that on the daily, this was the point of sale that I was looking at, where when price came here, that's when we just kind of dropped off and then came in. That was the next real big point of sale, but more so, yeah, so we had this sort of level of area, and then we kind of just dropped off again from here, which is very interesting. As we dropped off aggressively, I am looking for something equal to the move. So something, just a larger flag over here. Something larger so I can get into a short position. And then basically, just as a forecast, doesn't really matter about the structure. The structure, if something meets my criteria, I'll go for it. But this is basically what I'll be looking for there. And yeah, just essential. So that's that. I mean, look, listen, this is going to be a very, very impulsive quarter, I'll be honest with you. This is going to have... There's going to be a lot of opportunity happening in this quarter alone. I think something that we all need to be paying very close attention to is essentially the DXY. And listen, if this goes, you're going to see a lot of volatility in the market during the end of this year. And I think this is so important. If we have suppressed volatility for January, boy, I think we're going to see some very big sort of candles going on next year. But more so, I think it's going to be happening soon. The one thing I want to be making sure that you're keeping very, very close attention to is the fact that we are currently now in a bit of a frenzy. We're basically in a point where price is correcting, and a lot of people will be holding cryptos and gold and things like this, and I think this is where a lot of people may make a lot of money very quick, especially newer traders. And this is something that I just want you to be very aware of, is if you're one of those people, don't just throw it straight back into the market straight away. I mean, you might think in your head that it's the best thing to, when I say a lot of money, okay, if it's a couple grand, whatever, you can do whatever you want with it. But if it's something significant, if that couple grand is significant, or if it's 20 grand, 30 grand or odd, just don't jump straight back into the market. And I'll tell you a little story in a second, but most of all, I've spoken to so many experienced traders who are now trading 5-6 figures, not because of that, but because of the lesson they learned from it, but also what they would have done if they had made it back. And I'm not somebody who has experienced that on that scale, where I've made a quick win and lost it all, but I've spoken to maybe around about, let's say, several people, probably more than that, but several people, and they've all experienced it. 20k, 30k, 50k, one of them 80k, 60k, I think 10k, 12k, in that region. And the thing is, like, I think most of all, the most important thing I want to share here is, when you do receive that sort of money, you need to do a quick life re-evaluation check. Right? What I mean by that is, do you have certain debts? Do you have certain things that, if you were to use that capital and pay that off, would that put you in a better position? And now I'm going to go into a quick little story, right? So I used to be a manager of a company back in the day, and there was a guy working with me, for me, whatever. His name was Kieran, and basically Kieran was quite a joyful guy. He used to just kind of just do what he wanted whenever he wanted, and he opened up a position on cryptos, right? I think he put something like 3 grand in it. XRP, Dogecoin, one of them. And obviously I had a bit of experience as a trader. I was the manager. People used to come for me for just a bit of advice. Wouldn't really give them advice, I would just kind of give them a bit of wisdom. And asked me a question. He said, hey Kunal, I opened up this trade on, which 2 friends actually, but I'll go with Kieran. And he made like something like, I believe it was 20k, 20 or 12k, I can't remember the exact figure, but in that region. And he said, hey Kunal, I just made this much, I'm thinking of closing it, what should I do? And I was like, what do you mean, what should you do? He's like, I've got 20k running on my trading account, I invested in Dogecoin, or was it XRP, and I don't know what to do with it. And I said to him, alright, well, let me have a look at the pair and I'll get back to you. And I looked at it, and then whilst I was looking at it, I was just thinking, like, this kid knows nothing about trading. He literally started this job around about a couple months ago, maybe a year or 2, I think, during COVID. I know what type of person he is, very impulsive, emotional. If this guy was to trade all the money back, is it likely he would lose it? Probably 90%. 90% sure. And he'll probably walk away for a couple £100. I went back to him after about half an hour. I said to him, hey, listen, I think you should close it whenever you feel like closing it, but let me ask you a better question. Obviously, I don't know if you have a lot of money or you don't, but do you have any debts? And he goes, what? I said, do you have any debts? And he goes, I don't really have any debts. And I said, okay, cool. So you own everything you have? And he was like, no, I'm renting. I have my car, but I'm financed it. I've got to pay this much. I also owe money to the bank because his friend illegally drove his car or something. Anyway, there's some debts and stuff, and there was some money floating around that he had to use. And I said, okay, cool. Accumulatively, besides the rent and the bills and stuff, because that can fluctuate and you might move and whatever, your car, how much do you owe to your car? And he's like, oh yeah, I owe like 16 or something like that. And I was like, okay, how many years you got on that? He's like, yeah, I've got like 5 years. And I said, okay, fine. And then how much do you pay every month? And we looked at all the figures, and we then looked at some other areas of bills, and then we basically saw that he was making something in the region of, let's say, around about £1,800 a month. And in bills, he was paying something in the region of like 1,400. So realistically, he was working his ass off to only make about £400 a month. And don't get me wrong, this kid will work hard. Like, there was a time where, he was at his A game. Like, he would work very, very hard. He wanted to impress, and he wanted to grow. And so essentially, I basically shut up. I said, okay, I'll think about it. Then I went back to work. About an hour later, after lunch, comes back to me. He's like, I'm like, oh, hey Kieran, how's it going? He goes, yeah, good. I closed that trade. I was like, oh, okay. Oh no, this I think, yeah. So yeah, I closed that trade. I said, okay, good for you. He's like, yeah, okay. And then he walked away. And then I was like, okay, well, he at least he's 20k richer now. A bit jealous. I was like, shit, I should have got involved in some cryptos. Anyway, I was like, what did these kids, apparently they saw it on YouTube or something. It was him and a friend. Anyway, so a lot, I would never put 3k into something because I saw it on YouTube, but yeah, so he got lucky, and about a week later, he said he paid off his car, he did all of this stuff, and he's never felt better. And accumulatively, over the course of the next 3-4 months, he saved himself about £1,000, maybe about £900 a month. And I was like, I was seeing his quality of life getting better. The guy was taking takeaway, he was doing other stuff. I mean, he wasn't very good at managing his money, I'll be honest with you, because he was spending most of it on buying new clothes, new shoes and stuff. Is what it is. But at the end of the day, It's this is the sort of thing that I want people to realize, is when you have that quick win, have a life reevaluation and just kind of think about what are you spending your money on. Like, if I gave you 20k today, what's the first thing you would do? Okay, I'm going to learn to trade because you made the 20k from trading. Okay, no. How can you make your life easier? How can you make yourself more? What's your goal? Like, the thing is, Kieran didn't know what he wanted. That's the thing. Kieran deep down doesn't know his reason why he started trading that 3 odd K in the first place. It's one of those things where I just have to say, like, you can do everything and make so much money, but if your why is not strong enough, you're just going to go in a circle. That's why Kieran would have given it all back to the market, because I simply gave him an idea and he executed on it. If somebody simply said to him, hey, reinvest your money in Dogecoin, I think it's going to pump again, and behold, the market's dropped heavily after that anyway. He basically got out near enough at the best price he could have at the time, and it was just one of those things where I just realized, like, wow, people are very, very uneducated when it comes to investment, and quick wins early on in the game can be detrimental, because if he gave all that money back, then he would not only be stuck with the debt, he would have been 3k odd down, or he might have taken a break even. A massive emotional roller coaster, sold him on a bad habit, so many different things. And I think that's a very important thing to realize, is when you do get a quick win, you don't only get a quick win, you get a bad habit, which is even more for bigger expense. You get an experience with it. There's so many different variations of things that you can gain from one little lesson. And yeah, honestly, totally, I think, just learn from those things. The lessons in it is very important. All of that stuff, like, can just really mess a person up. And I had another friend, he had the same thing. Took it out. He had it at 20k as well. He didn't take it out when he wanted to. He was greedy. It dropped to 12, and then I told him, like, listen, you don't close it now, you're just gonna give all that money back. Like, what's that 12 gonna do for you? So he took the 12, and then he reinvested it into his family home, which once again is a very good investment. Because at the end of the day, you have to realize that when Kieran paid off his car, Kieran then actually didn't lose the money. The money didn't get lost. He can sell his car and he can still make that cash back if he wants to. That money's still waiting for him to do whatever he pleases with it. Okay, cars are usually depreciating assets, but depending on the value and the age and so forth, sometimes they can stagnate at that level for quite some time, especially during the pandemic and stuff. That was a great time for you to realize that you could make some money off your car. But you could buy a car cheap during that period. It was only till after you could start selling it. But anyway, so yeah, one of the major things I wanted to say there is just that when you reinvest that capital into something, you don't have to reinvest it into another investment. You don't have to jump straight back into another investment. I mean, okay, if another investment shapes up and it's something calculated and it's exactly what you're looking for, fine. But a lot of the time you don't need to. So I think definitely have that sort of mindset where you realize that if you come into a big sum of cash, you will definitely think about what you're going to do with it before you start doing stuff with it. Because I promise you, there's a lot of people, and statistically, this is something that I've been told by my mentor, was 95% of lottery winners lose all the money, or spend all the money. How crazy is that? Imagine you've been given millions of pounds, but then all of a sudden it's all gone. And it does make a lot of sense. They don't have the mindset, and that's why, once again, I go back to invest in your mindset, rewired. Because if you don't invest in your mindset, you don't invest in yourself, you're not going to progress. Like, you will stay and remain the same person. And if the same person right now is unable to be consistent, disciplined, and literally make money, like, you're not a money maker, then boy, you need to change something. You can't just sit there and be the same person every day and expect to get different results. No, you're going to get the same result, just in different days. So listen, I've been there, I've done that, and I'll tell you the truth, like, now I'm only seeing major consistencies. Like the payouts and stuff, it's irrelevant. It's not about the money. Right? If I told you about the money, it might excite you more, but it's not about the money. What it's actually about is, what am I doing sustainably, consistently, and can I replicate over the next 5-10 years without compromising my mindset, my health, or basically basically doing something that I don't want to do? Like, how can you incorporate certain things that you want to do? And then once you establish that and you really get granular with it, that's when you're really going to see the big time growth. So one of the major things I want to share with you is obviously just think about your positioning, because like I said, this month is potentially going to be a very, very fruitful month. I think next month even more fruitful, and I think in terms of positioning sequence, and next year setting us up for a very good year. We could see some very good momentum in the market. So I think most important thing here today is just think about your growth. I've already lined out 26% from where I currently stand, and I've leveled up to the next level I want to get to in order to reach the major goal. But it's a milestone, and I think if you don't set those small milestones, you won't get there. And it's difficult when you're early in the journey, because I promise you, you won't get there in the first year. I'll be honest with you. The first year you need to just be educating yourself and just be putting in the work, but deliberate, intentional work, not just working for the sake of working, but studying your fucking arse off so that you can get a better mindset, a better skill, better understanding. You can read things better. You have different methods of evaluating price, understanding market direction, understanding market reversal, pivotal points, structures, patterns, all of this stuff, nature, characteristics, and then different ways of identifying certain price and getting better data out of it. These are the sort of things that are going to improve you, make you better. And I think if you don't do those things, mate, you'll struggle. You'll absolutely struggle in this game, because this game isn't made to be good. This game isn't made to just kind of come in, come out sort of situation. You need to be excellent. Like, you need to strive for excellence. And if you're not striving for excellence, I promise you, the excellent people are going to take your money. Like, you're not up against just some average Joe traders, some guy sitting behind, everyone is sitting behind a screen, but you're not just sitting behind a screen trading. You're sitting behind a screen trading with other traders, other banks, institutions, people who are, yes, manipulating the price, but manipulating it in a way that you can understand it, so that you can actually trade in a sustainable, consistent way. So it doesn't actually seem like manipulation anymore. It just seems like the market has been set up in a particular way so that the people who know how to trade can make money. The people who put in the disciplines, the efforts, the hard works, and have put in the time to learn something, they will make money. The ones who just come in and just want to make quick profits and stuff, they'll lose it, because they're playing up against the big ballers. You're going to the NBA game. Are you going to be coming in not even stretched or anything? You're coming in for some serious shit. So why the hell would you come to the stock market and not be ready? So just wanted to share that with you, because I think that's extremely, extremely important. I know there's some deep messages in there as well, but for sure, I think if you're really, really serious about this game, you need to definitely think about your next step. Don't be thinking about how much money you're going to be making, or what am I going to be making, what am I going to be buying, all of this stuff. Just think about your next step. Like, if you're let's say 2 months into your journey, like, what can I do now in order for me to be better? Okay, you're about, let's say, a month into your journey. What can I do to be better than the previous month? You're a year into the journey. Okay, what have I not done this year? What are the things that I said I was going to do and I wasn't able to do? How can I be better? I know that obviously one major thing is that when you're working, it's difficult. It's one of the reasons why I ultimately chose to leave, is because I wanted to put in more time and study more. It's crazy to give up your complete sole income. Of course, I had some capital from other investments, but you give up your sole income to study. It doesn't really make sense in this day and world. Like, people need money to survive. People give up studying to get a sole income, not the other way around. So it's just, sometimes you got to make a sacrifice for what you want. And had I not made my own sacrifice, I would still be further behind in the journey than I would want to be, but I would still be progressing. I would still get to the same destination, just in a later period of time. But everything happens for a reason. And I think, if you know what you want and you're going to fully go and get it, then do what you have to do. If you're lost and you want some guidance, you want some help, you can drop me a message. 100%. You can drop a comment and say, or you can drop me a message on here or Instagram or whatever, and I'll be more than happy to literally jump on a call with you and talk about trading, because I think a lot of people have a complete misinterpretation of trading and how they can be consistent. And I'll be honest with you, I would like to put it out there to just say, like, if you are interested in learning how to trade and learn how to trade, and you want to trade and you are serious about this and you want to change your life, and you don't want to mess about, you're not floating about in life, you're not afloat, you're literally genuinely serious about it, then then that's it, that's all it is. It's a proper conversation. But if you want to half-ass it and you're thinking like, oh, you know what, I don't really have any money, I don't have this, that, then what's the point of even thinking about it? Get your life in order and then start doing something. Like, don't get me wrong, like, you have to take it one step at a time. Like, I had to take so many steps at a time before I even got to where I needed to be. And I promise you one thing, like, if you're not strategically taking each step, you're just going to keep going backwards. You'll keep taking a step backwards. Like, don't get me wrong, you can learn without money, but the truth is, to get proper education, you need to surround yourself with money. And people with money, where do you think they are? Well, they're around their money. So I'm not saying you need to have 10,000, 50,000, 30,000, 40,000. I'm saying that you need to have something in the region of at least like $200 in your bank. How can I keep myself going? Okay, I have $200, but is that my last $200? Then what's the point of even doing it? Imagine how emotional you'll be holding on to your last dollars, and you're going to be sitting there like, okay, I need this one to win. This one has to win, and then it doesn't win, and then what? You're left with nothing, and then what? You have to go back in a vicious cycle to repeat that. Now, stack up your cash. You can do that. Let your job pay for your trading, right? But don't be jumping in every single day, every single time you get paid. That's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to be thinking about, all right, cool, let me think about how I can get a sustainable process. How can I get better at this? How can I improve every day? What can I be doing? How can I educate myself? How can I put emotions aside? How can I be working on my mindset, etc.? So many different things. But if you don't do that stuff, I promise you're just going to end up in some vicious shitty cycle, and you ain't going to make nothing. You will literally make no money. You'll just keep getting a negative experience from trading, and that will be your experience from trading. So listen, like I said, I know there's a lot of people. I've spoken to quite a few people on Instagram who reached out to me, and that's why I just wanted to say that. And I want to say big congrats. I know quite a few of you did sign up to actually just putting yourself out there to learning how to trade, and I think that's a massive step, because with all the bullshit out there in the market, which is basically scams, feeding you lies, signal providers, this and that, all that bullshit, forget that, man. What the hell is the point? Honestly, how are you going to become rich over the next 20 years from following some kid called Liam on Instagram who's selling signals? You ain't gonna, you know what I mean? Liam ain't gonna be there in 10 years. Like, Liam ain't gonna be there in 2 years. I mean, if you keep paying him, he might still be there. But the truth is, like, these signal providers, 95% of them don't make shit. Anyway, guys, good chat, and I'll catch you in the next video.